Did you know you can start investing in real estate without any cash and without any credit? That's what I'm going to talk about today in part 1 on this 10-part series in building wealth through real estate investing. Let's go. Welcome to this 10-part series on building wealth through real estate investing. We are going to cover the gamut. Everything that I've done, everything that some of my partners have done to build wealth through real estate. You might not do everything that I describe in this 10-part series, but a lot of people will focus on one and then do 2 or 3 other methods I'm going to describe. So make sure you watch them all. Hit that subscribe button. In part 1, we're going to talk about wholesaling. This is a term that gets thrown around a lot, and if you're new, you might have no idea about what it means. In it, the simplest terms, wholesaling is when you get a property under contract for a really good price, and then before closing, you sell it to someone else. You do this by assigning the contract. You get to pocket the difference. It requires almost no cash to do and no credit because you do not have to close on the deal. You get someone else. So I'm going to walk through some of the ways you can find deals. How do you evaluate if it's a good deal? How do you find the end buyer? And some of the basic things you need to know. So here we go. So how do you know if it's a good deal? We're going to start with that. When you are wholesaling a deal, you need to evaluate what the final price will be. Typically, when you're getting a deal that is a wholesale type deal, the property has some issues with it. It needs repair. It needs upgrades. You know, it may need a lot of them, or it can be expanded. You can make it bigger. You can, increase the density through zoning and build more units on it. So you need to figure out what are the highest and best uses. What are the other ways that someone else can come in there and renovate, add square footage, or get more units and create more value. That value is called your ARV. It stands for after repair value. You need to get the home under contract for 70% of that ARV minus the repair cost. So for a simple example, if ARV is $100,000 and the repair costs are $20,000, you would have to get the deal under contract for $50,000, right? $70,000 is 70% of that 100K number, and then you subtract the 20K in repairs. All right, if you're able to get it under contract for $50K, you'll have a deal that has enough margin in it that you could assign it to someone, make a good wholesale fee, and the end buyer will be happy too. Because as a wholesaler, you want to make sure that the people you sell the deals to are going to get value out of it, going to get profit so that you have a good reputation and they keep wanting to do business with you. So how do you determine that ARV? Well, you need to study comparables. You need to study other recently sold homes, recently sold units, whatever it's going to be turned into. You got to study recently sold comparables to figure out what that ARV is. So that's how you find out if it's a good deal or not. So how do you find the deals? Well, you can market for them, you can prospect for them, right? You can create ads, get the sellers to call you. I've got a series that's more for real estate agents where I talk a little bit about marketing and prospecting techniques. You can watch that series here on this channel, but basically you have 2 choices, right? You can market on Facebook, Google PPC, you can use signs, you can do all sorts of types of marketing. Then there's also prospecting, right? You can call lists of people, you can call expireds, withdrawns, for sale by owners, you can pull tax lien lists, foreclosure lists, call those lists. So you can door knock on areas where you see a lot of rundown houses. There's all sorts of things you can do to try to identify potential sellers for a good wholesale deal. So once you find a deal and you know it's a good deal, what are the things to consider when getting it under contract? First of all, you should have a written contract. Otherwise, it's not valid, it's not enforceable. So make sure you have a good purchase sale agreement. One of the keys in there is going to be making sure it is assignable. This is very important. You have to have the right to assign it to someone else. That is how you are going to flip the contract. So when you assign it to them at a higher price, you get your fee when they close on the deal. The other key in this contract is you want to keep your earnest money deposit low. All right, you want to keep that EMD low, because if your buyer fails to perform, you don't want to be on the hook for a larger amount of money if you cannot close. When you sell the deal to a buyer, you want to make sure that their deposit is bigger, a lot bigger than yours. The bigger the better, right? You want to make sure that if they do not perform, you've got a deposit that is much bigger than the potential deposit you would lose with the seller. And if that does happen, that rare circumstance where that buyer does not perform, you're gonna want to go to the seller, try to work out a deal, get some more time. You know, maybe you gotta change some other terms, but get more time, right? Don't give up on the deal. There's still a chance you'll be able to find someone and create value for them, you, and the seller. So those are the basic things to think about when you start in wholesaling. If you are good at this, you can make $5,000, $10,000, even $50,000 or 6 figures per deal. It's a great way to start in real estate. It requires very little money. It requires no credit. It will get you good at finding deals. It will get you good at evaluating deals. It will build up your income, your savings, and then it will put you in a position, if you're not already, to where you can buy your own deals and start doing that. We are going to look at several different ways to do that throughout the rest of the series. In part 2 coming up, we're gonna look at the buy and hold strategy. So hit that subscribe button and stay tuned.